Right. I'm from Kenya. That's where I originate from. I came to Port Elizabeth in 2004 to do my degree, undergrad degree, and I've been here for 10 years, since 2004 till now. So I could say I think I've become a Port Elizabeth, is a town for Port Elizabeth person. So
It's windswept.
Windswept. So I'm totally windswept. I love the city. I've studied here, I've lived here, I've worked here. So I have a lot of what we call roots in the city. When I decided to do my doctorate in architecture, it wasn't being offered by NMMU still, so I was advised actually to either do it in Wits or Cape Town. But then I decided let me try and explore the possibilities of doing it here. And after a year of pushing it, I managed to get supervision. Supervision was the biggest issue because the university did not have the capacity, or the School of Architecture did not have the capacity to supervise it. So we got that right, I think 4 years ago, and I started off. The topic I'm looking at is something that I've always wanted to do, sustainable architecture, green architecture. It comes with different names. But most so, I think through my thesis I've tried to anchor it down more to community. Because what I'm finding out through explorations and through different case studies is if it's not anchored in community, there's probably a very limited chance that it will survive, or it will be sustainable, or it will be what do you call it? It will be true in quotes. So that's what my doctorate is about. It's about sustainability, architecture, and community. I've worked in Port Elizabeth for on and off. During my studies, I did work a bit, and then after my undergraduate, I worked for a year with Imbono Architects. After my MAC, I worked for 2 years with NOH Architects. I also, during the bridge, before I started my doctorate, during that process of negotiating with the university, I managed to do a project. I was a project manager, resident project manager here in PE, for a company based in Joburg and Cape Town. So my experience has been quite diverse. I've managed to accumulate, I'd say, architecture experience of not just one single duration, but it's been mixed here and there during my student years and now. I started studying architecture in Kenya. I did a certificate there, and I tested it out with a certificate, and I kind of liked it, and I was like, yes, I'm going for it. In Kenya, we have a diploma in architecture, which is kind of in between BTech. I'd call it a BTech. It's very technology driven and less design driven. And then when I came to Port Elizabeth, I did almost like a bridging course to get into the system of design with proper design and architecture. So just a plain presentation. So I'd say through that journey of from a certificate to a diploma and pursuing my doctorate, I'd say I've kind of enjoyed that academic experience, but I've also wanted to push for this green, sustainable architecture. I'll set you on quickly with my presentation. The first part of this presentation is very academic, if I may call it that way. Obviously, because my background right now is very theory-based, very notes and analysis and that kind of thing. But I'll try and make it a bit interesting for practicing architects. Yes.
It seems that you try sociology, the aspect of sociology. You're quite keen to sponsor as a mentor for the project, but you're obviously finished. So
I'm in the middle. I'd say the biggest challenge, I'd say for my thesis or for my doctorate has been the fact that I'm foreign.
yes.
So they're very limited bursaries to non-South Africans.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the biggest challenge. But I'm still exploring possibilities in there.
Okay. Besides the bursary part, also for mentorship as well. I think sociology are very interesting. Such big assignments like yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's worth doing.
Yes, it is. It is. It is. All right. All right. So a little bit about myself. I told you where I started. My work experience is right from Kenya. I started off with an interior design company, very small, just two of us, to Warrior and Associates, which was then a very established company in Kenya, and all the way to NOH Architects here. But amongst all that, I managed to do a lot of traveling overland trips from Kenya to South Africa. And during that period, I think during that period, that's what I'd say was my turning point into my career. I could not quite reconcile what I'd studied and what I was finding in the ground in my trips. If you go from here to Kenya by road, you'll see very different landscapes, and it always, because it's a very long journey, it always kind of plays in your mind what you're seeing. My thesis is titled "The Architect as an Agent of Social Change: The Idea of Promoting Community-Driven Design Practice in South Africa." Basically, what I'm looking at is the lack of adequate community input, understanding, engagement, ownership, or even participation in the design of sustainable developments or the green agenda. And with this, I mean especially with community designs or community projects. I'm using there's different terms for it: interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. But the idea is it's just not one architectural-driven approach, but it accepts other inputs from elsewhere, from other areas. So it's not an architecture theory doctorate. What I mean by that is I'm not looking specifically at space manipulation or folding structures or materials or that kind of thing, but I'm looking at it more at a social realm. Where and what can architecture do, and how can it cause change? It's an area that's not very much been explored in detail. What I mean is, yes, architects always deal with those areas, but it's noted being very much approached from an academic angle. My thesis basically is broken down. I broke it down into two parts: the DAC, which is a single module offered by the NMU, which basically you look at a topic, or you choose a topic and you explore it. And I added onto it development studies coursework. Why I chose the development studies coursework at the very beginning, with advice from my supervisor and mentors such as Dr. Sherry, was the idea that if I look at social issues, then I'll be able to design better for community, especially for communities, get them involved more, get them to participate more, and also to understand those complexities. Development studies is quite interesting because it encompasses a lot about challenges today, from globalization, development, diversity, identity, poverty, and relation. So all these aspects of it, of development studies, made it even more interesting. The theories that I looked at and that we kind of narrowed down, because development studies is quite wide, were advanced development policy, the idea of policy and what policy, how policy can introduce change, analysis of developmental strategies and its application, relationship between mainstream and alternative development strategies, advanced development theory, and transformation. The whole idea of conflict, change, how do people perceive change, how to accept change. My research questions are quite broad. The five, basically I'm looking at I'm questioning how architectural training is done, and are we equipped from the very beginning to deal with social issues, or are we more driven to deal with buildings? So trying to introduce that element of social issues quite early in it. The issues of commercialization and effects to development in community-driven designs of sustainability, misinterpretation of sustainability in terms of greenwashing, greenwash. Everything right now is green. If you look at oil companies right now, they say they're green. But what is green? Everybody's green. Why? Other than the trend or the fashion to it, what are the truths to it? And then I'm also looking at issues of building regulations in terms of building practice itself. How can we enhance? How can we make it? How can it be revised so that social issues or how can it be made easier? I know there's a lot of change happening within the building industries, but it seems to be more professional or architecture driven. How does the guy on the street understand and work with that? How do the simpler people in the community perceive or understand it? And all this, with all these questions, the idea of acceptance of those changes within, acceptance of those changes that are coming about. My objectives is to understand the dynamics of training and practice in architecture in terms of community-driven. Once again, I emphasize community here to see the social consideration. If social considerations can be aligned with commercial or sustainable issues in development in projects, to create awareness in academia, industry, and local community concerning concerns of community, and to promote alternative materials and technologies in the push for green agendas. Why is it important? Because it will increase the value or ability of the architect to discern and get solutions that are more beneficial to the community. Performance rather than prescriptive based solution. Limited social. There is a limited social dimension to architecture at the moment, restricting progress towards sustainable development. There's few, I'd say, from my research, few community-based designs in Africa compared to similar developing countries elsewhere. Here I'm looking at precedents with regards to Cuba or India or Brazil. So if you compare the two, I'd say we're still catching up, and there's room for it, so pushing for it. There's limited community-driven designs in Africa in general. This is just a very general assumption. And the proposed research likely will promote investigations within and across disciplines and fields of architecture and development studies. My keywords are green, sustainable architecture, or green design, architecture education, continuing professional development. I broke them into the profession, the idea of change within community, and just the diversity and kind of merging all of these. My case studies within PD, I looked at Replication Museum, Ubuntu Education Center. I've looked at Walmart Township and the renewal and development project there. There's what I call multi-purpose hall project. There's been this is still new, I'm still exploring it, but I think 2 or 3 years ago there was a lot of multi-purpose halls that were clicked on into clinics where I'm investigating and looking at the success of that. Research projects that I've kind of narrowed down to explore. One is the Alliance Française of Port Elizabeth. It's called the Endowment Project. I'll talk more about that. Masipuni Land Development in Roma Township and COC. COC is an organization that is global. What they do is they work with urban, they work with unsettled people, townships, slums, and kind of, so it's very diverse with them. I will quickly go to the Endowment Project. Why I choose the Endowment Project is because of all my research projects, it's the one that's kind of grown more, and it's getting to the point where even with the instances, they're making it more aware. And, there was an article this week, so I chose this project to kind of highlight or kind of show what I'm doing with my research. So in Daro, what we're trying to do is title this document Moving Us into Sustainable Development. The idea basically is what the Alliance Spaces and Indalo are trying to do in terms of urban renewal or rejuvenation or enhancement within Richmond Hill area. I've customized this document to fit this presentation. You'll see pages pages are not in order. Reason being, a lot of the document is still being processed, so some of the information is yet to be verified. The Alliance would like to keep some of that information still not in this presentation. So, Indara is a project by the Alliance Française created here in Port Elizabeth that's been accepted by the Southern African network and has also been accepted by the global network. In other words, that whole idea of Indalo, which came in 2008, which they created in 2008, when, if you remember, Papa was when we first hit those first shocks of the energy crisis. So what they did is they developed a program within the Alliance Française out of their normal, natural language and culture business, and they started pushing through to the other alliances the idea of being green, why we need to be green. Those are the 3 objectives that it was pushing for then. It's supported by the entire global network. There's around, I think, 800 alliances so far. They're all spread right within Africa to the rest, to the other parts of the world. The Alliance has been in P for a while, since 1960. The one in Bud Street, then it used to be our institutional street economic, and they moved into Richmond Hill in 1990. The building they're in right now is 100 years old. It was built in 1913, and those kind of give you a few hints on what it used to look like and what it's becoming. In 2008, Endeavour was created. It was anchored on Environmental Day, the idea of let's celebrate Environmental Day, and then it was extended to Green Week. The idea of Green Week was a week of green initiatives, and in 2011 and 12, we expanded it into Green Week, Green Design, the idea of through the partnership with NMU Arts and Architecture, exposing both the university or designers in the university or even people within the community of PE, the idea of being green. Those basically are the artists or people who were involved in 2012 with the whole move towards Green Week. Then we looked at the idea of expanding the program. We looked at the idea of the Alliance wanted to create more visibility and presence in that area. They're struggling with a lot of issues with the building, and how do they deal with that building? Basically, how does it become find a solution for them. We looked at research, obviously through my studies, and we've increased the student participation. They've increased the media and marketing through green partnerships and expansion strategy. This is basically through my studies where I've been within the Alliance. We've been doing exhibitions about green projects, student projects, green movies, and that kind of thing. With increased student participation, especially bearing in mind that the Alliance has a very strong link to France and getting more French students involved. Now, France has quite a history in terms of the green frontier. They've pushed quite a number of green buildings. There's a lot of green architecture coming from that end. And we've managed to get quite a number of students from different schools here. This was early this year. A school from École Spéciale d'Architecture visited, some students visited Port Elizabeth. This school is interesting because it's the first, I think it's the first architecture school in Paris, in France, but it's also a private school, whereas the others are national. So so it's the first private school, if I may call it, of architecture. Its jurisdiction is specifically Paris. So the projects that are happening in Paris are directly or connected or related to this school. The students were here. We looked at different green concepts. We built models. We looked at different explorations with the building of the Alliance and different community projects. Other institutes or schools is in Nantes. Quite interesting because this school, which is from Nantes is the current green capital of Europe. So there's a lot of greenery. There's a big green move in France through Nantes. Last year, the current green capital of the world is Copenhagen, but this is for Europe, the current city that they're focusing on. Then there's IDRA, which is a business school. This was in the Herald, the whole idea of what the students did and what we were exploring. These are various partners that the Alliance is using to push for the whole idea of moving green within the network. They have a magazine called 50 Alliance that is spread, that is in all the alliances, and they put these articles on green, why the alliances should go green, the whole idea of saving electricity, water, recycling water. Through the Business Chamber magazine, they involved in that too, and through Green League Environmental Standard. Now, the Green League Environmental Standard has partnered with the Alliance in trying to get the, if you call it, the greenest, not just building, but business, in the idea of what they do, right from the building to how they deal with the staff, to how they make people aware in their social room. So there's three spheres of influence: the cost sphere, the responsible sphere, and the restorative sphere of influence. Kingfisher has teamed up also with the Alliance with Green Now, where they put forth awareness through the radio, telling people why they should go green, how they can go green, what they can do. Right from very little things like switching off of electricity to materials options or what is in the market in terms of going green. The Business Chamber with the quite a number of articles from the Alliance. To Green Cycle. Green Cycle is another company also from Port Elizabeth that the Alliance has teamed up with, created in 2008, ironically, interestingly in the same year. And through that partnership, all the garbage and all the waste from the Alliance is handled by Green Cycle. So the idea of also promoting sustainable partnerships and businesses in Port Elizabeth. the National Mandela Transitional Network, which comes or stems off from the Global Move Transition Network or Transition Towns, which is a global move again towards, on a very social level, it's people coming together and discussing green issues and trying to see how they can deal with these social green issues from their home, which is I know different from us, where we are approaching it from the practice. How is the Indaba strategy? Okay, we've put together what we're calling the Indaba strategy in terms of this year. We're looking at a Green Richmond Hill Music Festival. Why that is because the Richmond Hill Music Festival has become something that the Alliance is quite well known for. Well, or something that the community of Richmond Hill know and have accepted. It's created an impact within the area. It's very well. It's been very well received. So the idea of that, and we've extended Environmental Day into Green Week, and now we've taken it further into Green Focus, which is a month of green initiatives, right from talks to exhibitions to movies to workshops with various green partners. And we are also looking at the exploration or expansion of the Alliance in terms of space, what they can do where. And with the music festival, maybe I'll just go very quickly through this. Now, Richmond Hill is, I think this is one of Richmond Hill's most famous street. What gives Richmond Hill quite an identity, Stanley Street. Most of it is, it has quite a number of beautiful restaurants, some businesses there, there's also a church there. And the Alliance is located quite awkwardly at this side, which is not on Richmond Hill Street. So what I did with the students is we did an audit, or we analyzed the area. We looked at we categorized 3 business types. The one was restaurants, the other one was property agency, the other one was more creative design and studios, because that's the nature of what Richmond Hill is growing with. There's a lot of young creative people who are moving into Richmond Hill and starting off a buzz. So those are the businesses, and then we looked at the residential types, typologies. Why? Because they give a clue of the amount of, the number of people, the amount of risk coming out, the volumes of people, who are we influencing. So it gives a clue about volume. This could be right from a single unit to a double story or to a 3-story, or even to type 3 was your accommodation businesses. Then we looked at the green areas because the idea there was just to see what within that precinct is green open space. And there's lots of spaces in between buildings that people have kept either built through gardens or intentionally just kept it open. And we, with the music festival, what I propose for that is to link that street, which is Stanley Street with the Streetway, Marquis Street, where the Alliance is. And whereas before the Richmond Hill Music Festival has closed down 8 to 12 streets, this year it will be a bit different. It's only 2 streets that will be closed, and everything will kind of be focused within those 2 streets. This is what we're looking at, having main stage here, having entrances or entrance installations there to reduce gateways, having little stages sprinkled along that main street and this street. Have the traditional Alliance Française stage festivals. The music festivals main stage has been here. We're moving it here because it's been quite an awkward space, butting into a wall, which is Bain Street building. But we're keeping it here and spreading the audience here. We're looking at a possibility because of last year's music festival, the rains, keeping 2 tents here, one there and one there, so that if the weather fails us again, we have options there. The main idea is obviously linking that street and that together with that, and having that being staged there, almost directly linking Alliance Française to the music, to the main street. We've also looked at what we call the rayonnement. Rayonnement in French language actually means array, or a radius of influence. The idea is that with the very few ideas and things that the Alliance has started implementing, which includes collection of rainwater. Currently they have 7 1,000-liter rainwater tanks that they collect as much water from that building and from the neighbor's building. They've removed all the old heaters. We've installed Econo heaters made from a South African company that uses less electricity. The water collected is used for flushing the toilets, so the system has been connected to the building. So there's a few tricks that the Alliance is using, and the idea is if that one building can do that, what if we spread that through what the Alliance does, which is the community, through that community, to the neighbor, to the other neighbor. And that's the radius that we've kind of restricted ourselves to. These are some of the installations or some of the concepts that we've explored so far, and this is myself with the students. This was basically a seat made out of tubes. I'll show you some pictures of it. A wall made out of paper tubes. Installations for the music festival that you will see. This is just a glimpse of what the music festival will be pushing for. What we're calling the information kiosk for the music festival. The strategy here was obviously the Alliance was struggling with its main partners hijacking the music festival because, for example, last year's music festival was known as the Algora Music Festival, and the Alliance wasn't quite known for it. So the idea was to try through design, see how can the presence or their work be expressed or known. That entire structure is made out of pallets, recycled pallets, put together. It's a modular design, and they all fit together to create these gateways, so that the idea is as you go into the music festival, at these gateways you get information about the music festival, about the Alliance, and about their move towards going green. That's what that's what the installations would look like. This is pattern alley stage design. It's been revised a lot. And through the installation of a symbolic gesture of a stage, the Alliance has had space at the backyard where they've used for gatherings and for meetings and for music and all that. So the idea there was, what if we made a stage out of pallets, recycled pallets, the whole structure out of pallets. The other is branding, going more, pushing more for a green statement. The Alliance is known, France is known for the Eiffel Tower, the City of Love, and this is what this year's brand looks like. The idea of Milano there. And Green Focus. Green Focus is, as I said, it's a whole month of green moves or incentives, and this is what the program is. By the way, you're welcome to come have a look at the exhibitions. They're quite interesting, or the talks or the movies. As I said, it deals in different issues of environment or businesses or sustainability. And we put out a poster to try and get students to come volunteer, either build the structure or during the music festival with the spreading of the word about green and the events. These are two articles that I think just came out quite recent about my whole research and what I'm pushing for with the Alliance. The music festival will be bringing the idea of the palettes was carried forward into their main poster, which is just a background of palettes that we from the picture of the palettes that we're using to construct. What are we looking for? What is the Alliance looking for? Funding through all the research, obviously partnerships, building materials for the installations, building expertise. The pictures here are some of the installations that the Alliance is already keeping in storage, and that it will continually use to push for the green agenda. I'll quickly move to the pictures of what we've done so far in this one, in the last couple of months. Remember the panels that I showed you, the exhibition? So what we did is, that exhibition is basically from France of durable architecture. And we linked it with the whole idea of creating stands made out of recycled pallets. All these pallets, none of them is new. We dismantled them, we recycled them, we created these things. Myself and students and some friends. These are some of the French students. And basically, I'll pause here. This stand can fold and can be stored away. We will be putting wheels to it so that it can be moved into position. And it will not only be used for this one exhibition, which is durable architecture, but the Alliance will continue using it for future. This is us testing various posters. And yes, it does stand. But this is what I meant about the idea of using design to push for various solutions. And then this is the stage that it's a temporary stage that we started constructing at the yard of that space. So the process, that's the structural components. We had to get a local contractor to put in, especially those structural components, and then we fill in the pallets ourselves. That was the process. So it's been quite busy, but within it's students meeting, community meeting, various businesses. So there's that interaction, that energy that's in coming off it. Construction phase of it, that's what it looks like on top. That's what it currently is looking like. The idea is that it's still, there's one more phase to it, which is the plants, the creepers that are actually added to it. And lastly, this was what the opening event was like, with the exhibition, with the various exhibitions being open. With Sherwood, there's an indoor gardens installation, the idea of gardens indoors. This was just how the day looked like or felt like. Right outside the Alliances. So putting it out and engaging the community. That's what the stands look like with that exhibition. That's the exhibition itself, which you can have a look at the Alliance. It's open, it's free, anybody can have a look at it. Recycled material, chairs. very tight building to expose or explore as much as possible. That was the opening function. It was very windy that day. It was last weekend. I think that's when we tested the structure. It did stand. I think it was something between 40 and 50 knots. I'm not sure how strong the wind was, but it did stand. And there you go. So that's what I'm doing with my PhD.
Thanks for coming to show us what you're busy doing, whatever. I've just got one question. Obviously, we've got Rich Meal, which has got the heritage aspect of it.
Yeah.
How do you bring them, like recycling, where does it meet where you meet the recycling thing? Because obviously the whole of some things been going for years, but the problem with recycling is it looks like it's recycled.
Yes.
The context that you sit with the heritage context, how do you link the two so that you don't have something that looks like it's been recycled?
It's a very difficult one because the heritage context and the fact that the buildings are already there, it's an urban context. There's very little change you can put. So the approach that we've used is what I kind of call temporary architecture, temporary installations. And basically what you're seeing is temporary. It's an exhibition. It's a statement kind of. And obviously trying not to impose or damage the fabric or the area. So it's a very fine line. We've gone quite. If you look at those pallets, we've changed them from a typical pallet to a stand, we've exhibited a world-class exhibition from 2010, which is durable architecture, and we've kind of merged them because when you see it in person, you don't feel this is a palette. You feel this is an exhibition. So it's through those gestures that I'm trying to achieve the recycled without looking. Yes, it's a statement. It's recycled, but at the same time getting the balance to it.
So just one other question. Other than saying thanks for the presentation, very interesting. I certainly know a lot more about Allianz Francais now than I did before. I hope that they're paying me for the advertising. But what I'm worried about, maybe seriously, because I think my view on this is different to yours. You talk about the role of the architect in social change and the kind of work that the architect needs to do in communities that are underdeveloped. And then you fast forward to we're working with items that are thrown away by society, pallets and tubes and all the rest. And I've always struggled as an architect to think of communities that are underdeveloped, that we can treat them somehow differently and kind of use throwaway materials for their project and programs. I think if any, and this is a statement I'm putting to you to see if you have a different view, I think if there's any place where we should throw at communities the world's best or the best that we can scratch together, it must be communities that have nothing, that are underdeveloped. I definitely don't want to burden them with having to have buildings made out of pallets and throwaway paper rolls. Is that a view that's different to yours?
I agree with you. I have 3 case studies or 3 research projects. Why I've shown you this one is because this one is very close to us in terms of rejuvenation, renewal, and it's something that's going to be happening quite soon, and it will be great for you to participate with. The other 2 is one in a township scenario, which is in Cebu, where it deals with the whole issue of townships that there's no settlement. It's not a settlement. It's not been legalized as a settlement. So the structures are basically shacks. The challenges and the other project in Wama Township also deals with that context. So I've kind of spread my PhD in 3 contexts: the inner city, which is this project, and one at the periphery, which is in Cebu, and another within what you call it, semi-periphery. The challenges that we have faced, and when I say that, is myself and Dr. Sherry and the team that we worked with, Cebu, is acceptance of alternative material. What I mean by that is it's very, the communities down there, when we give them these proposals, ask one question: why are you proposing to me a house built out of pallets and paper tubes and all that, whereas you're not proposing that to the people, to other people? There is
a good question.
Sorry?
It's a good question.
It is a good question. It is a good question. There's a feeling by vulnerable people that they're given leftovers or solutions that are just specifically for them. And this project kind of says, not really. We can explore that within an organization. We can explore the solutions within the urban context. We can explore that in Richmond Hill. So that's how I've managed to counter it. It's easier now to, if I may say, preach to township context when I show them, look, we've done this in Richmond. Yeah, and it's standing, it's been accepted, and it's an NGO who's global. We can do it here. I don't know if that answers it.
I don't think it's a good answer, but it is an answer.
The other thing is, it's a process. So I'm kind of in the middle of my PhD. So I will not say I have answers yet, because as you can see, it's an exploration. But I'm starting to get hints on how to do it, and this is one of them. I think I'll be able to, through the other projects, be able to go with more confidence and get more acceptance to alternative technology and material within the township.
No, sorry.
I always thought the hypothesis in the beginning that you try and test it to see if
Yes.
negative, positive to it.
Yeah.
And the answer you gave to Tim, I could have answered it. I mean, as a fact, being actually involved in this sort of sphere, it becomes successful if the workers do use the recycled stuff. Only will they accept it, they won't accept it.
Yeah.
That's just one of the things. But I think your hypothesis was strong enough then to try and take it down the line to every.
See that area of Richmond Hill also, in terms of if I may call it class in society, is your middle upper, and if they are accepting it, then it's easier to convince your lower. I don't know if it's a term lower class, but it's easier to convince vulnerable societies that it's been accepted. It's working. It's not bad. It's not a rejected option, which is at times very difficult to do, especially when we've had the RDP options and others that are kind of being seen in a different light from them. So we'll test it and see how it goes. Yes.
Very apart from the call it nuts and bolts, the sort of practical materials, that sort of side of it, in terms of sort of green or sustainability, is your research going to go as far as dealing with communities? We get the more formal commercial side of architecture and dealing with public works and municipalities, which is very formal and structured and doesn't quite meet the expectations of the community who have
especially my second research project in Woma Township, where it's kind of in between formal and informal, whereas the third one, which is a CBU, it's totally informal. With those projects, and why I have not presented them yet is because the amount of research that is going in is not yet at the point where I can conclude or give solution. But yes, it's going in that direction too, where we're dealing with municipality acceptance of alternative solutions in terms of drawing plans. What happens if you submit a house made out of mud? I'm sure you know about the Cobb House at Moffat and Main, at the corner of Moffat and Main and Cape Road. There's that house. I've been with the owner. I've interviewed the owner and just found out about the history of it, and that it took her 5 to 7 years to get those plans accepted, and eventually it was actually an intervention from the university and John Rushmere who kind of pushed the municipality to kind of accept, those. But there's a lot of what happens in that bridge. How do we deal with it? So yes, I'm looking at